Hi, my name is Neil Blevins, and this is part 2 of a tutorial on OpenSubdiv inside of 3ds Max. And this tutorial is going to be mostly focusing on how you can move models back and forth now between Max and Maya and Max and Mudbox. And a lot of the problems that you'd have before trying to do this sort of thing is no longer a problem. So to start off with, let's take this tread model that you saw previously, and I have a crease set here with a value of 0.3 on the surface, and let's just put an OpenSubdiv modifier on top to smooth it. And we now want to move this model as is with creases to Maya. So what we're going to do, first of all, I'm going to bake this crease set into the model. And the way you can do that is just by simply going right click and converting to editable poly. Just as an aside, by the way, say you've done this and now all of your crease values are now baked into the mesh. So if you select an edge here, you can see that the edge is a crease of 0.3. Let's say later on you want to get that information back out of your mesh. You can actually bake in the opposite direction. So if you put a crease set modifier here, and then go down to the very bottom under options, there's something called auto generate. And what auto generate will do is it'll look and it'll find all the crease values that are inside of here, and it will auto generate crease sets. So in this case, any edge that had 0.3 on it, it grabbed and now put it in this crease set. Any edge that had 0.35 it grabbed and put into this crease set. So it's a good way in case you need to bake out all your stuff into the mesh, but then want to get back something that's easy to control afterwards inside of a crease set. You can do that very easily using this technique. So anyway, we'll dispose of this for the moment. And to export, first put an OpenSubdiv modifier on top of your surface. Then go to export. Export selected. And make sure to not have preserve edge orientation, because this can triangulate your mesh, which is not a good thing. So it's doing the export. And now let's move over to Maya. Okay, we're now over in Maya, and let us import our model. And there we go. So if I hit 1 in Maya to unsmooth, we can see the unsmoothed mesh. And now if I hit 3 to see our smooth mesh, we get the mesh smoothed with OpenSubdiv. And if you go here into the crease sets, which is an editor very similar to the one that has now been put into Max, you can go here and say create crease sets from mesh. And that will go in and grab those same crease sets you saw before, well, the same crease values, and split them into these two different sets, which then can be changed. And one other last little note you might note is that the crease values here, say 3 and 3.5, and the ones in Max was 0.3 and 0.35. And the reason for this is because in Maya and the OpenSubdiv spec, creases go from a value of 0 to 10. But because Max already had the spinner that went from 0 to 1, they just remapped it. So a value of 3 is 0.3 in Max, a value of 4 is 0.4 in Max, etc., etc. So not too difficult to tell the difference between the two. Slight difference between them, but you know, it's really easy to convert in your head. So some of you might remember this image that I posted years and years ago about the difference between the way Max smooths its UVs and the way that Mudbox smooths its UVs. And so you get in these nasty situations where you'd bring a model over to Mudbox, you'd smooth it, you'd paint on it, and then you'd bring it back over to Max, and you would then try to render it, and you'd get these weird artifacts all over the place. And the reason for the artifacts was because they were using two completely different smoothing algorithms to do its smoothing, so nothing matched up. But now with OpenSubdiv, we have both of these have exactly the same smoothing going on, and so the artifacts will disappear. So let's say we have this mesh here, and it has these edges up here are creased, which is why you see that sharpness going on, and then the blending into the non-creased edges. So let's take this and let's export this guy. Now let's head over to Mudbox. Now let's import the model. And you can see it here. And if we subdivide it, we can see it subdivides with the creases up here. And then we can paint on the surface. And now let's save this out. Let's go back over to Max. And now we go into our material editor. Here is the material that's assigned here, and I have the texture map that we just painted. And now let's render this. And there you go. So the render comes right through with no artifacting and properly painting across the creases. So this opens up a whole load of new possibilities. So let's say your company uses 3ds Max as their main pipeline tool, but you have a bunch of modelers who are Maya modelers, and it's now really easy to move their models over with all the smoothing intact, everything over inside of Max. Or let's say that you want to paint or sculpt inside of Mudbox, and you're tired of getting artifacts all over the place when you are using the two different smoothing algorithms between the two different packages. It's now the same algorithm, so it's really easy to just paint in Mudbox, bring the results over into Max, and you know that the results are going to be exactly the same as they are in Mudbox because they're using exactly the same algorithm to do their smoothing. So, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you found this interesting, and I hope you enjoy using OpenSubdiv inside of Max.